Thanks, Ed, and thanks, Lisa. You're a hard act to follow. I've known Lisa for a number of years. Lisa's husband, Mike, was one of the people that taught me how to cook at Walker's Grill many years ago. And glad to be here with Teresa and the folks from the Northern Plains Resource Council. My family has, members of my family have been strong supporters of Northern Plains for many years. And it's fun for me to be here. I have a secret, and I guess I'm in good company, but I'm a progressive banker. I recognize that having a banker in the room is not always the greatest thing to be, but let me tell you about what that means for me. And thanks for your opening remarks, Ed. I was living in Denver for a while. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. I was living in Denver for a while and was contemplating a move back to Billings. And it was right around the time that Billings was trying to pass the NDO, if you remember. And
the non-discrimination ordinance.
Yeah, the non-discrimination ordinance. And so at the time, I was looking at where my opportunities were. And for me, a healthy community is an inclusive community. And so I think I wrote a letter to the editor just saying I didn't understand why Billings couldn't put itself together behind other communities like Bozeman and Missoula. And I said I love this town, but until you guys get your head out of your you-know-what, I'm taking my talents elsewhere. So I moved with my wife to Missoula, and I still believe that we have the capacity to create a more inclusive community here in Billings. That's one of my priorities. And so at the bank, I went up to the board and I said, we've got to make good change in our culture and employee handbook and make sure that if anybody is part of the LGBT community and they are in any way harassed or challenged, that they can't be fired because of that. And took a little bit of time to convince them, but I just said this is the right thing to do. So that to me is what being a progressive banker is about. I also believe in creating and supporting local communities, and so I focus a lot of my attention in Missoula on infill development and providing the opportunity for developers to do high-density projects in the infill, because it's pretty easy to continue to build subdivisions out and sprawl up the Bitterroot or here in Billings all the way down to the riverside. But really, our best use of the downtown real estate is to continue to make improvements and to redevelop that area for mixed use, for residential and for commercial development. And so happy to be here with Lisa, who I'm so proud of her work and the downtown, all of the downtown efforts, because really, as I said to her, vital downtown is the heartbeat of a community. So continue to support those efforts. Just a little bit about First Interstate Bank. We're not a small community bank anymore. We're now in 3 states, and we've got, I think, 73 branches, but we're still very committed to our communities, and we, part of our charge as bankers is to give back both in volunteer time and really in capital. And we provide capital through making loans to businesses, but we also have a very strong charitable end. And last year, our company's foundation celebrated 25 years and over $20 million of contribution to the communities that we do business in. And last year, I think we gave $2.8 million in direct grants and in charitable grants to our communities. And for us, being a part of a community, doing business in the community means being a good corporate citizen. And so we've supported a broad base of both community organizations, from arts and culture to housing to providing hands up to people that are in need, and supporting efforts that you guys care about. And so for us, being a good corporate citizen means, for example, we give 1.5% of our before tax profits back to the community, and that's been part of our values and one that will continue for ever and ever. And I'll look forward to, thank you. I'll look forward to kind of talking a little bit more about some of the projects that I'm working on. We have our panel discussion, but again, supporting the homegrown efforts of this conference, as well as what everybody's been talking about today, is a part of my values. I think it's part of my family's values, and hopefully that comes through in the way that our bank does business here. So I think I'll save my remarks for later, but I want to thank everybody for coming and hand things off to Kimmer.